Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, and welcome to the show. I just got in from outside. Wow, it's hot. I was mowing the grass out there. I'll tell you, I got sweaty and hot. Come in. I sat in front of the air conditioner here. I got a good air conditioner. It kicks out nice cold air, but man, it makes an awful racket. So I have to turn it off. I had the cold air blowing on me for a minute to cool me down being outside. Anyway, what a hot summer we've had. Here's the thing. We got a little drop in price in cryptocurrency. One of the problems is there's a Chinese company out Chinese not a Chinese company, but a Chinese Ponzi scheme of some sort out there who has been, I guess, dumping batches of cryptocurrency into the marketplace. They're dumping 50 bitcoins to a time, sometimes 100 bitcoins to a time in on the exchanges, and it's knocking the price down some. And that's something that's been going on for the last few days. I think that's having more to do with the price declines than the recessionary pressures, you know. And so that interference has thrown a bit of mud in the water. So it's a little bit hard for me to see just which direction she's going right now, cryptocurrency. But one thing I can tell you guys for an absolute certainty: there's going to be a certain time in the not too distant future when the Fed relents on their monetary policies. That's when crypto is really going to take off. But not until then. That's like it's like in a race, when the starting pistol goes off. Then they start the race. That's going to be the start of the race for cryptocurrencies. The race to the top. In the end, I can see a world where the fiat monetary assets, I'm going to tell you, they've mismanaged this system so bad. An awful lot of people, are going to race into the dollar very soon when this recession starts to hit. They're already doing it. They've driven the dollar up over 98 on the US dollar index. But, the dollar is being compared to a bunch of other deadbeat currencies out there. Like the euro makes up most of the dollar's basket. The Swiss franc, Canadian dollar, Great British pound. How good's the Great British pound doing lately? With Boris Johnson in place, and he's planning on bringing the Brexit come heck or high water. I don't think that the European Union is going to bring any sort of deal in place. And so we're headed toward that hard Brexit on the 31st of October. November's going to be a bad month. Not for cryptocurrency, though. I think it's going to be stunning for cryptocurrency, because I think the world's central banks are going to react fast, very swiftly, to this major downturn that's coming. They're going to try to resolve it, but what they're going to do is something like they did in 2008. Very similar. This is a very similar situation in many respects. Keeping my eye on Deutsche Bank. See, all of these things, there's a lot of commentators on cryptocurrency on YouTube, but they're looking more in the too close. They're too close to see the bigger picture. You have to understand the entire workings of the financial system and then relate that to cryptocurrencies. You get a little bit better picture that way of the overall what's happening and when Bitcoin is really going to go up. I'm still expecting, before the end of this year, cryptocurrency to be in a major bull market. But this recession is the biggest fly in the ointment. It's a problem for me to try to configure how that's going to fit in and exactly when this recession is going to actually get going. And I think that this recession, see, normally when we get a yield curve inversion like we just had, where even the 30-year is inverted now, all the way. It's a full scale yield curve inversion. Normally when we get something like that, a recession will set in typically about 12 months later. That's typical. That's ordinary. But in this case, this is entirely different. And the reason why is we got things like the trade war going on. This is exacerbating it, making it come on quicker, making the recession come a lot quicker. It's moving that 12-month period much, much closer. So that really we probably only got 2 or 3 months before the recession really strikes home. Germany's heading into a recession right now. And then we got Deutsche Bank in Germany, Germany's biggest bank, firing like 20,000 employees. They're laying them off, same thing, firing them, laying them off. How's that going to help their bank? That's basically, it's going to make their bank go down quicker. And it's been going down lately. It's in the fives again. 5.8 something euro, I think it is, right now. And it's about the lowest it's ever been right now. We could all wake up some morning, quite seriously, and Deutsche Bank is gone. And there's our Lehman moment times 10. That would bring panic. That would bring entire panic to the financial system. Now, how would Bitcoin react to that? I think Bitcoin would react very positively to that. In fact, I think gold and silver would. I think gold and silver would just basically take a moonshot. At exactly the same time. Now, I did a show a few days ago about could we have a silver shortage? Well, you know what? We could have a Bitcoin shortage too. Bitcoin is a commodity that's a financial instrument, and each Bitcoin breaks down into 99 million little pieces. But still, there's a limited supply. And with anything that has a limited supply, you can have a shortage. Even with Bitcoin. You know, but silver, oh my goodness. Silver is so vulnerable to a shortage. Because the price is so low, it's so out of skew right now. So, you know, cryptocurrencies, gold, silver, they all go in together the way I see it. And we got a crumbling world's financial system. And all of that money that's out there that's been created on credit and stuff, all has something attached to it called, I'm having a brain fart, guys. Honest to gosh, I'm having a brain fart. It's when your item isn't really owned by you. It's the word I'm searching for that. I know the word. Anyway, it's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't think of it right now. And you know, this show's live. I record it off live, and I mean, there's no script. It's not scripted. That's why I can, if I have a brain fart, I'm like here, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? What's that word? What's that word? Anyway, it's when it's not owned by you specifically. So like your stocks and your bonds, right? You don't really own them. You think you own them. Even your bank account, with the money you think you have in your bank account. There's the word. Counterparty risk. Hey, I got it. Counterparty risk. It means that there's somebody else basically who owns the deed to your property. That would be counterparty risk. When you have a mortgage, somebody else holds the deed. That's counterparty risk. You don't really own your property. You know, properties are like that. Even with the government, you don't really own your property. Don't pay your taxes for a couple of years and find out who owns your property. Counterparty risk. There's very few assets that don't have any counterparty risk. In other words, we're coming to a point in time where the financial system's crumbling so bad that if you don't have it right in your hand, whatever it is, or if you don't have the private keys to whatever it is, you don't own it. Because counterparty, everybody is going to come after everybody else's money. When this system starts to cave in and all of this credit expansion starts to contract, everybody is going to be saying, give me my money. I want my money. Where's my money? You know, they're going to be like Stewie on Family Guy when the dog didn't pay up on his bet. Have you guys ever seen that episode? That's what everyone's going to be like. But there's counterparty risk on all of it. And so basically it's going to be margin calls. Everybody's going to want what's theirs now. The banks are going to have to be foreclosed. And if you got gold and silver and it's in some safety deposit box or it's in with a holding company. Holding company's owned by the bank. They're just going to take and load it all into a Brinks truck and they're going to drive off with it. Your stuff. And your bank account's even worse. Your bank account is just digits on their computer with total counterparty risk. Everything's going to get gobbled up. But if you got a gold coin in your hand, that ain't going to get gobbled up because you can close your tight little fist around it, and anybody who tries to take it away is going to have to go over you to get it, if you know what I mean. And that's the thing about it. No counterparty risk. My aunt and my mother used to tell me something for years. They told me something. They said that possession is 9 points of the law. So if you have it and it's in your possession, then that's 9 points of the law. And this is what the banks believe too. They believe that they got your money. They're holding it. You're not. They've got the 9 points. You've got 1 point, one measly little point, and that point is only as good as the FDIC, Federal Deposit Insurance Commission. Federal Deposit Insurance. It's only as good as that. So, how much money do they have to go around if all the banks start to collapse, the system starts to crumble, and this counterparty risk actually comes into play big time? How much deposit insurance do they have available? Do they have all of us covered? Have you guys done the math on that to figure it out? Well, I have. And I'm going to tell you what the math is. The math is they have enough to cover a couple banks. If 2 or 3 medium-sized banks go down. They couldn't even cover one big bank. If one of the big banks goes down, they can't cover that. But they got enough to cover 2 or 3 of the little banks, if little banks go down. But, during the Great Depression, over 700 banks in the United States went down. This is what's coming is going to be worse than the Great Depression. So how can the Federal Deposit Insurance cover 700 banks going down if they only got enough to cover 3 banks? Now I'm going to tell you another little fact about all this. The big guys, the guys that's got like 100 million in the bank, 200 million, 500 million in these banks, they've written it into law that they get the Federal Deposit Insurance money first before you. And if there's any left over, then you get to fight over the scraps. This is how safe your bank account is. So people go out there and they say, oh, well, Bitcoin. I'm not buying Bitcoin because Bitcoin's not really a safe haven asset and stuff. Yeah, but if you got the private keys, even if Bitcoin goes way down in price, think about this for a minute. You got the private keys. That means there's no counterparty risk. You own it. You actually own it. It's in your wallet on your computer. Right? It's actually better than the money you have in your bank account because that money could go to nothing. That could all disappear into nothing. Nothing. Gone. But you'd still have the Bitcoin even if Bitcoin went way down in price. Even if you bought one Bitcoin and it went down to $100 and you got the private keys, you still got $100. Whereas if you got $20,000 in the bank and they take it all, gone, and you're never getting it back, then you got nothing. That's counterparty risk. So your money that you have in the bank, the reason why when you go into the bank, the teller's got that screen right in front of her, she can see your account numbers and she can see the amount you have in your account and everything. Why she's looking at that screen and not you is because they want to keep that feeling away from you. The feeling that the money is just like World of Warcraft money. Or just like the money your kids play with on these video games. They don't want you to get that feeling to realize that those digits on the computer that she's looking at on her screen is nothing more than electronic digits, just like a video game. But it's worse because at least with the video game, that money in the video game is actually more real because there's no counterparty risk attached to it. If you've got $1 million in World of Warcraft, at least there's not somebody else that's going to come out there and claim that $1 million ahead of you. And this is what's going to happen in the regular financial system when the system melts down. So's all the money. You're going to go to your ATM machine, put your card in, beep, beep, nothing. Right? They'll come in. I'll tell you what they're going to do to you. They're going to come in once a week and fill the ATM machine. There's going to be a big long lineup stretched down the street in 90-degree heat. Right? You're going to wait in that lineup to get your $200, which they let you have once a week. They'll limit you to two. This is what, because bank runs, they'll put in what's called capital controls. It's called capital controls. $200 a week, or maybe even only $100 a week. So you're waiting in line in the hot sun because you've got nothing to eat at home. You can't buy anything. You've got no money because you didn't understand anything about this counterparty risk. Never heard of it before. So you keep all your money in the bank. That's everything you got in the bank. So you're waiting in line, this big long lineup. You get halfway to the machine, the ATM machine, and it's out of money because they only bring the money once a week, and everybody's waiting there that morning to get it. This is the kind of world we're headed to. Maybe you're not going to be able to buy your baby formula. This is the kind of world we're headed to. And we're headed toward the kind of world where, I'll tell you what you should have in this kind of world. Cryptocurrency's great. You have the private keys, so it's no counterparty risk. You own it yourself. But you should also have gold and silver. And with your gold and silver, you should have you should get yourself, if a person's smart, they'll probably get themselves a couple rolls, maybe 2 rolls, or at least 1 roll of pre-1964 United States dimes. Silver dimes. Because, it's widely recognized. And it's only less than 1/10 of an ounce of silver, real silver. And they're not real expensive for a roll of those. Right now, silver at only $17 an ounce. I think they're only like 2 ounces or something like that in a roll. Maybe 3 ounces, but it's not very much. It's only like... And you should have a couple rolls of them. Because one of those dimes might buy you your loaf of bread. And it's very recognizable. And when this crisis hits... Or it might buy you your baby formula. And if that don't work, then you should have $5 bills on hand. United States Federal Reserve notes. But they could go to nothing, where the rolls of dimes won't go to nothing. But the problem is during the initial start of this crisis, that people might only accept the dime for a dime. Right? Where the $5 bills, they might take it for the full face value of the $5 bill. Now, later in the crisis, the $5 bill might not be worth anything. And the dime might become recognized because of the silver content. So it's a good idea, have a couple rolls of the dimes and have a little stack of $5 bills for yourself, put away for yourself, and have your cryptocurrencies. Because when this crisis hits, you don't want to go hungry. You don't want your baby going hungry with no baby formula. And quite seriously, that's what we're headed to. We're headed toward a meltdown of the credit markets. This is what we're coming to. A meltdown of the credit market, where the credit market freezes. It might be a matter of hours that it freezes for, because in 2008, it only really froze for a matter of a few hours, and then they got it going again. I think it took 700 billion or something to get it going again. This time it's going to take 10 trillion. 15 trillion to get it going again this time. But this time, in order to get 10 trillion, 15 trillion, they're going to have to jump through some hoops, and it might take a little while. There might be a little lapse there while they plead their case and get it pushed through, legislation pushed through to get this big stimulus packages and stuff and get the whole thing going again. But they'll have to, because the world just basically comes to a stop. Money runs everything. So they'll have to get it going again. They will get it going again. But at what cost? At the cost of the dollar. The dollar's gonna start, and that when this all happens, it's gonna happen fast. This whole thing's gonna happen fast. You guys got to be prepared for it. Your cryptocurrencies then is going to go to the moon. At a certain point, you're not going to be able to price your cryptocurrencies in dollars anymore. Neither your gold nor your silver are going to be priced in dollars anymore. And these are going to be the things of value, where the whole world's financial system basically is just going to go into a giant hyperinflation. And there's going to be vendors on the street working from street corners who will buy your gold. Got a pair of gold earrings? They'll put them on a little scale. They'll test them to make sure they're real. Do a few tests. Right on the street corner. And your little gold earrings, you know, a little tiny, they're not very big. They'll pay you in dollars, cash. They'll have a brown paper bag. The wads of hundreds will be all wrapped up with elastics, and they'll weigh it on the scales. You get like 5 pounds of $100 bills for one of the earrings. For another 5-pound bag of $100 bills for the other earring. You know? So, you'll need some sort of a great big, because it's all hundreds. This is the kind of world we're headed toward. Quite seriously. So, little tiny earrings this big only weigh 1.5 grams, and they're only 10 karat gold, and it fetches over 10 pounds of $100 bills. Maybe $1 million. This is the kind of world we're headed to, guys. So you go to the grocery store with those two big satchels of money, you know, and you want to buy a loaf of bread, and it'll take most of it. I mean, this is the kind of world we're headed toward, you know. It's going to be crazy. Craziness. At a certain point, they're going to do a reset. Probably going to go to a gold-backed cryptocurrency dollar. And they'll say that they're backing it with the golden Fort Knox. But I don't think there's 1/10 the golden Fort Knox that they say there is. I think there is gold there at Fort Knox. Quite seriously. It comes from when they confiscated the gold for, I think it was $20 an ounce, and then they jacked the price. As soon as they got it all confiscated, they got everybody's gold, then they jacked the price up to $35 an ounce. They paid them $20. What crooks! Crooks! Anyway, listen, thank you guys for listening to this. I know it's been a little bit of a long episode, but honest to gosh, we are heading into Crazyville. We're heading there fast. This trade war is pushing us right over Niagara Falls, guys, and there's no end in sight. And then we got the Brexit coming hard on its heels. And then we got a Chinese slowdown that's absolutely amazing. Amazing slowdown in China, like nothing we ever seen before. This whole situation is just boiling down into and the system is so over leveraged with debt. Oh my goodness, everything's way worse than it was in 2008. 2008 was a cakewalk compared to what's coming. You got to get out of the paper assets, and you've got to get into hard assets, and you got to do it now. I consider gold, silver, cryptocurrencies, if you got the top coins, I consider all those hard assets. That's what you got to get into. Got to do it fast, because if you wait too long, if you're a day late, then you'll be $1 short. Listen, thank you guys for listening, and we'll catch you guys in the next show. Bye-bye, guys.